Today, I think it's something that we just need to talk about because it just needs to be a discussion that's out in the open, on the table. Candid discussion about finances, prosperity, wealth, richness, all of that, and versus poverty. And why it is that they are like two different, completely different realms, two different dimensions altogether. What are the secrets to the super rich? What keeps them at that place, and what are the habits and secrets and pitfalls of the people who are the opposite, poor people, right? I I know it sounds like it's going to be kind of controversial, kind of offensive. I don't want it to be either one of them, but you have to face these kind of topics in order to cross that barrier, in order to overcome, in order to transform your financial status and your financial future. So let's just dive into it, What the hell? So the first thing that I think poor people do that keeps them at that level, that very basic, low standard playing field, is absorb the media too much. Poor people love the television. Poor people love the media. Poor people are basically obsessed with the TV. And TV is just mindless junk being poured into your brain on a daily basis, day after day in, day out, night out. And, it feeds you nothing. It's a bunch of garbage most of the time. I mean, it's like public television and stuff like that. You can find good, informative documentaries and things like that. History Channel has a lot of stuff, things like that. But, generally, it's not going to propel you forward financially. Watching too much TV, you're soaking up a bunch of crap every day that's not helping you to get anywhere. It's not growing your bank account. It's not paying you. It's not doing anything for you financially. It's not helping you to achieve any goals. It's not. So generally, poor people need to start limiting these things, because you're going to see time just tick away. And TV is one of the biggest distractions in the world today. And rich people, I don't think, partake that much in watching other people's lives. They are out too busy creating their own lives, creating their own future, living up to their names and stuff, and having careers and doing things with their lives, to sit around and watch other people's lives. And if poor people kind of notice this a little bit more and suck it up and accept the truth, they'll realize that, they've been wasting much of their lives on junk. TV is sadly something, the kids hate to hear me say this, but it's just the truth. Credit is the next poor people habit. Poor people love to credit things. Poor people love to finance and put themselves in bondage financially, monetarily, to other people. I don't get this, because why would you prefer to not save $20, to save $25, $30 a week or a month or whatever for that TV, for that flat screen TV, instead of going to the bank or some electronic store that offers financing or something like that, and indebting yourself to that place for, say, 72 months? It's just crazy to me. And then these are the things that rich people actually catapult off of. These are the things that make the rich people rich, off of the backs of poor people. And we have to realize this for ourselves, because nobody's going to try to tell us this. Nobody's going to try to teach us these things. We are going to stay victimized. We're going to stay paralyzed, in a place of poverty, if we don't wise up to these truths. These are the truth. These are facts, okay? These are not my opinion. These are facts. So try as best as possible to avoid loans, to avoid owing, to avoid crediting, to avoid financing and borrowing money or anything like that, because it's not worth it in the end. It doesn't pay off. You have to pay interest on whatever it is that you borrowed, And sometimes, most of the time, sadly, the interest is so much more than you had anticipated. It's never going to be worth it in the end. And you are indebted to whoever that is until it's paid off, basically. The next thing that poor people do that the rich don't often do is have too many children. You can't, how many, I don't understand. A lot of times my people seem to be so mindless when it comes to having children. These are lives, these are human lives that you're creating. These kids are not asked to be here. And when you go out and you have 6, 8, 10 kids, like, what are you doing to those people's future? Those beings, those young children's future is going to be totally jacked up, to say the least. Because, I'm not God. I can't predict their future. But at the same time, when you have not a shit to give them, you don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out, your 6 kids are going to suffer. Your 6 kids are going to be kind of a burden, not only to you, but to society, to the government. Like, you can't afford it, basically. So contraception is almost free, like all around the world, basically. You can find ways. There are condoms, for goodness sake. A man does not, cannot give birth to a child. So a man, you can expect him to wear a condom, but as a woman, as a female, you need to protect yourself. You need to go out there and make sure that you're safe. You need to make sure that, these kids, having too many children is financially stressful. It's an expensive job. Having children and raising children from birth to adulthood is ridiculously expensive, and there are so many different things to spend on. It's never going to be possible for you to save money to invest in anything personally that you may want to invest in, to work towards your own goals and transform things financially for your family if you have too many children, too many mouths to feed, too many backs to clothe. It's going to be really incredibly hard. And this is something that poor people don't seem to pay attention to as often as they should, because a lot of times they treat children like, they are like rabbits. They treat children like pets, and it's sad to see, because the children are now growing up to become dependent on the government, to be dependent on the society, to be actually more burdensome to society than contributing to society. Now, this might offend some people, but poor people tend to get up super late. Poor people don't like to wake up early. And this is a known fact. There's been research done on this. This is a fact that, and the word lazy comes into play here, because the early bird catches the first worm, right? So if you're getting up and the sun has been up an hour before you, lots of birds have been eating, all morning, and you're just getting up like, okay. So that's another habit that poor people have. That air of laziness, that procrastination. Like, they don't have that energy to just get up and just jump up and go and get things done, start the day, when the day is meant to be started. To be a go-getter, to go and, make things happen, you need to have that energy, you need to have that passion, you need to have that drive, and you need to get up. And waiting around, stalling and stuff like that is just wasting time. And that's a secret, that's a trick that the rich people often don't do. Another habit that poor people have, they eat horribly. Like, fast food is their, go-to for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They don't care. They will eat fast food whenever they can. Or, I would not even just say fast food, I would say junk food. Poor nutrition, because that is what's contributing now to the laziness. That's what also contributes to that lethargy, to that, the dullness, the lack of energy that a lot of poor people suffer from. What you put in is what you're going to get out. You need to feed yourself food plants that are alive. You need to feed yourself electric food, like green stuff, things straight from the earth. You want to feel more connected to your source and more connected to the planet, to planet Earth. You need to eat more from the earth. Less of the fake shit, more of the real stuff. Some colorful, real food, and that's gonna get your stuff going. That's gonna get your cells like vibrating, and everything is going to start awakening it within you from the core of your being, to put it simply. So, a lot of times I look at certain people, they just have that vitality about them. They're like so super enthused all the time. They're alive. Their eyes are open. They're not just full of caffeine. They eat right. They feel, energized. They feel fit. They feel healthy. And if you want to go and make things happen in your life, you're going to have to start off feeding your inside better. You're going to have to be able to drink more water. You're going to be hydrated. You need to be, functioning at a core level as optimum functioning as possible. Another habit of poor people is shopping retail. They go into a store a lot of times mindlessly, without a list, without an idea of even what they're going to spend, and just pick up random items, and they pay sometimes way more money for it than it was supposed to cost, and they end up still getting less product for more money. You can't think like this. We have to get out of this type of mentality. We have to start doing things differently. Go in with a mission, go in with a list, go in with an idea of what exactly you need. Don't buy a gallon of water. If there are 4 people in your family, you need a 5-gallon. You need at least 2 5-gallons if you ask me, maybe 3. But at the end of the day, you have to have a goal. You have to have a plan in mind. Fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So this is another trick that the rich people have, that they have been using for the longest time, that keep poor people in the place that they're in. A lot of time, poor people are so stressed out and hurried back trying to get to their jobs, all of this kind of stuff. They have their 10 kids at home. They have to get back to them and take them something to eat or something like that. They're not even thinking when they get into the store now, okay, have some type of method to the madness. You gotta think. You gotta use this mind that God gave us, this precious thing that is our wonderful magical tool called our brain. In order to overcome these things, we need to get out of the traps. These traps have been around for ages, and it's time that we wake up to them now. It's time. If you know better, you should do better. A lot of times, because of the poor diet and everything, a lot of poor people become sick. They have these non-communicable diseases that greatly limit them health-wise, that immobilize them a lot of times, Another bad habit of poor people's is that they hate the doctor. They hate the doctors. There's a lot of poor men too. Women, a lot of times, not so bad, because women get a little paranoid and kind of run to the doctors when they see a little sign of something, or get like some headaches or some pains or something happening. But poor men, a lot of times hate the doctor, and they'd rather die before they go into the doctor. They say, well, anyway, when I get sick, that one's going to take me. That's what I've heard people say before. Poor people say before. And that's horrible. That's a horrible way to think. And, you are dooming yourself literally. They've been stuck with this poverty mindset that, hey, oh well, woe is me. If I get sick, I'm gonna die as a poor man. It's crazy. Rich people aren't like that. That's something we gotta get out of as well. That's crazy, because there are many diseases, many illnesses, or problems that we have, health conditions that can be prevented, or that can be actually treated very early on if it's found early on, and it doesn't even have to progress to something that's fatal. It doesn't have to progress to something that's going to take you out, and That's just a hopeless mindset to have, and that's what I think poor people need to just escape from. They need to break away from, not escape, break away from, because that's just not the way God intended for us to live, and not the way we are supposed to think. You know, as a man thinketh, so is he. And that makes a man very hopeless to believe that, if I catch a flu, I should die because I can't afford to go to the doctor. I can't afford to pay $50 for a checkup. I can't, that's crazy. And a lot of times, just as simple as dental care and stuff like that, poor people totally neglect a lot of times, because they say, okay, well, going to the doctor is bad enough. So the dentist, like, what extra is that? Another habit of poor people's is that they blame others often for their failure, for their lack of accomplishment, for their position, their financial status. And you have no one to blame but yourself. A lot of times you have to take responsibility for yourself, because this is the only you that you have. Nobody else is going to make you rich. Nobody is going to take you out there and do the things necessary that are going to make you rich. One of the biggest secrets of the rich is self-reliance. They draw from their own power, from their own God-given gifts and talents, and actually play up on them, actually cultivate them, do the things necessary that are gonna make them be noticed, make them actually pay off for them, make things work out for them. Of course, the world is a place where you need each other. Everybody needs each other, because the rich would never be rich if it weren't for the poor. But at the same time, the rich take responsibility for themselves and for their actions. You can't blame someone else for your actions. And this is one of the big differences between the two realms I'm talking about, of wealth and poverty. If you don't own up to your own life, if you don't own up to the choices you make and the decisions, your behavior, your attitude, all of this, your thoughts, all of these things come into play, determining whether or not you're going to be rich or not. You can't blame anybody else after that. At the same time, it's about the seeking, it's about the asking, it's about, putting your request out to the universe, putting your heart out there, going after what it is that you want, making things happen, making it real. It's not about blame. It's not about, casting judgment on other people. It's not about looking at the rich in jealousy and saying, okay, why? Well, they're the reason we're poor. No, they're not. They did stuff differently, and you just have to figure out those secrets too. You can't just go around and blame people and say everybody's oppressing you. Everybody's not oppressing you, People are doing this because nobody wants to be poor. They're trying to save themselves. That's what you ought to do. Save yourself as well. Rely on yourself, because you are the best tool that you can use toward your future. All right? Your mind, like I said, is incredibly powerful, and within each one of us are unique gifts and talents to offer the world. We have service to give to each other, to the world. So, remember that. Another bad habit of the poor is they are obsessed with sports. And a lot of people I know, this is going to be offensive too. But, I'm just being real. I'm going to put it out there because that's what I do. I'm real. And with myself and with you guys, I'm trying to be straightforward. We're talking, like I said, open and candidly about this. They would go out, right? A lot of people go out. They're so obsessed with the sports now, right? Whether it's basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever it is. They would buy tickets to the game. They would buy subscriptions to the game channels. They would buy subscriptions to the game magazines. They would subscribe to stuff online, sports sites. They would actually buy all the game paraphernalia, the sports paraphernalia and stuff like that. It's crazy. And if you look at all of the ways that the system distracts you to spend your money, it makes you think that it is basically a trap. It is all a trap if you think about it. These gimmicks are not, they're not there just randomly for no reason. They're there to trap you. They're there to get you. They're there to like keep you, like I said, at a place where you cannot rise from. And sports to me is wonderfully entertaining. Like I said, the camaraderie, the athleticism, all of that is great. Like, you know, the excitement, all of that people love. But at the same time, there's a healthy limit to everything. There should be a boundary, a limit. If your goal is to try and become more wealthy, if your goal is to grow your finances to the point of riches, you're going to have to start learning self-discipline. You're going to have to start cutting down on a lot of things. You're going to have to realize like what's important and prioritizing your decision-making process, prioritizing what makes more sense in your life. Because everything, my daughter just came in with a little finger spinner the other day, right? And it was not a finger spinner, it was a cube, a little cube. And I said, what's that? And she's like, oh, this is a little finger cube. And I'm like, oh great, another distraction, right? And she's like, oh God, mommy, like, why don't you stop? Like, and trust me, I love gadgets. I love having little trinkets to play with. I love things like that. But at the same time, my eyes are opening to these truths now that there are so many millions or billions of things in this world meant to distract us from growing financially. You know, there's like the power, some power that is trying to say, hey, you know, these people are waking up. You know, we better keep distracting them. Like, let's throw some more shit at them. Like, and you're trying to, like, you know, you're grabbing all this shit. You have to be mindful. You have to wake up. You have to see these things for what they are. And once you see it, it'll be hard for you to go back. Now, another thing that keep poor people poor, that keep poor people in a place of distraction and of disconnect, is social media. You know, I do these videos and stuff like that to connect with the world. I don't do it just to have fun. I do it for so many different reasons, but at the same time, social media is such a distraction. Some days I get up, right, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go and surf now and look for some companies, because I'm doing like little jewelry things right now. I'm trying to start my own business. I'm trying to make my art more recognized. I'm trying to get out there. I'm trying to do things, because for the most part I'm just home doing these videos. I work out like a beast. I do all these things at home. So here it is now. I go in and click on Instagram, click on Facebook or whatever, and an hour will go past, or say 30 minutes will go past, and I realize like, oh shit, it's 2:30. Like, what the hell am I doing? I'm still scrolling now Facebook. Like, this is crazy. And I hate that feeling. I hate being sidetracked like that and taken down, like, off course. So that's another thing poor people need to pay attention to. How much time you dedicate to social media. What are you chasing? What are you looking for? What's the goal there? Like, it's just empty, mindless, just surfing, scrolling. I'm tired. I'm winded right now. Just thinking about it, it's exhausting, because, like I said, that is one of the biggest forms of supernormal stimuli right now to poor people is social media. And everything now with the ability to go live and all this kinds of stuff, it's just really, really distracting and a waste of time a lot of times. Sometimes I do share messages and stuff like that. I do interact a lot with people. I do a lot of things to motivate other people, same as I do on YouTube, but I generally narrow it down. I don't have time for like seeing all the mindless rants and stuff like that. It's retarded. Another thing that a lot of poor people do is gamble too much. Like, they're chasing this dream, and the house is always meant to win. You're not gonna fool the web shop. You're not gonna fool the computer. The system is rigged so that you can only be fed a certain amount, so that if you keep putting in your money, you keep spending, and you'll see people sit down in the web shops from 9 in the morning when their kids just go to school. They're in there, and they're in there till dark. They're in there all day. and this is painfully obvious why poor people and rich people are in a class of their own, and why it's been that way for so long, and why it's continued to be that way. Because with mentalities like that, you're not going to see improvement almost at all. It's going to be almost impossible to see things shift. You have to change your mind about a lot of things, and it's okay. It's okay to change your mind. You know, when you realize you're losing, you're losing, you're losing in so many different ways that it's not even funny. So I say these things for people to open their eyes, for people to wake up and to see these truths and accept them. Take it for what it is, because it is just what you see it is, just what it shows itself as. You know, it's meant to be an oppression, it's meant to be a trap. It's not called a system for nothing, you know. So once we are able to open our eyes to these things, it's going to be hard for people to take advantage of us anymore. It's going to be hard for us to actually be kidding ourselves, because that's what we're doing at the end of the day. We're not only being distracted and, like, you know, wasting time. We're kidding ourselves, you know. Our kids, their future depends on these same things that we're doing today, and the same things that I'm talking about today. And this is why I wanted to have this open, candid discussion about these things that are keeping poor people in such a lowly place. We need to rise up. We need to get out of this funk of poverty, because poverty to me is like a sin. It's what drives people to do the most heinous and horrible things, sometimes just to eat. Poverty. So we need to not be ignorant anymore. We need to educate ourselves, like I said, in order to empower ourselves. And ignoring the truth is never going to make a change in us. We need to be that change that we want to see in the world. We have to be it ourselves. So guys, thanks for watching this video. I've done so many takes on this that it's not even funny. I'm getting hungry now. So I'm gonna go, but I want you to contemplate some of the things I just said. Even if you have to write them down, write them down. But I really want you to give me some feedback. I really want you to comment below. Let me know what you think about this topic. Let me know other ideas, other habits that you think that you see in your community or your environment that keep poor people in that place, that keep them paralyzed in that financial place that we want to all rise up from. Let me know. Thanks again for watching. I'm gonna go now, and like I always say, peace and love. Blessed be. Let's get this paper, okay?